Well, in the past two videos of this playlist, which you can see here, we talked about some parts of Golang concurrency. There's still a lot more left which I wanted to cover, but before that, in this video for a couple of minutes, I wanted to talk about some deep levels of Goroutines, which we should definitely consider if we want to program concurrently in Golang. So let's go. So how does Go actually handles all of these Goroutines? You might already know the meaning of threads in operating system concepts. If you don't know, it's simple. Think of OS threads like actual workers. They are the real one doing the work on the CPU. And you don't usually have many of them because they're expensive to create and manage. Goroutines are not OS threads. Goroutines are tasks that Golang hands to those workers. Creating Goroutines is cheap, but creating threads is hard. Context switching between Goroutines is cheap, but context switching between threads is not. So Go schedules so many of these Goroutines on a smaller number of operating system threads. It has, for example, M operating system threads and N Goroutines, or vice versa. I mean, M Goroutines and N OS threads. But the point is that it is called an M2N system, which runs many Goroutines on a smaller number of OS threads. The scheduler decides which Goroutine runs on which thread and when to pause or resume it, which means that you run the concurrent code and runtime figures out how to run it efficiently. But Goroutines are not infinite either. In fact, we can't have Goroutines as much as we want. There is a limited number for it, and that number is GOMAXPROCS. It limits how many Goroutines are allowed to work at the same time. It limits how many threads can run the Go code on the CPU. But what happens if we set it too high and what happens if we set it too low? This part of the video may get a little bit complicated, so skip it if you want to. Consider we have some bunch of tasks here. So we have two parameters. The first one is throughput and the other one is the latency. So the throughput is how many of these can be done at a time. This is check, not R. Okay, how many of them can be done at once? Let's say our computer, our CPU, has one core. A core with two threads. Each of these tasks are Goroutines that Golang hands to the threads. Now, let's put the number of Goroutines more than our number of threads. For example, right now we have 3 tasks and 2 threads. The first thread picks the first task. The second thread picks the second task. What should we do with this third one? So it comes here and it gets blocked. It has to wait so other tasks could be finished. So as you can see, either if we put it concurrently and if we don't, we still see the same value. And here, actually at this point, there's a delay where the thread should decide which tasks should it work on. The thread can just work on one task at a time. If we set it lower than the number of our cores, we don't use all of our resources, well, why not? And if we set it higher than the number of our cores, the latency goes high and the throughput goes down, which we don't want. You know, these details, these configuration details may not seem important, and in so many cases, they're really not. But when you're working on a big application, working on a server handling like thousands of requests per second, even 2 millisecond delay pile up. And since I'm trying to cover everything about Golang, especially concurrent programming, it's really important for me to talk about it here. Let's see how Goroutines behave after the course of time. There are maybe some Goroutines in our code which don't do anything important anymore, but they are still consuming our resources. We saw this for channels when we were talking about them in this video. As a matter of fact, in engineering, the de-allocation step is a thing which should be at least considered. I may perform it, I may not, but if I want to be a strong programmer, I should definitely keep it in mind. And it holds for every single entity in software engineering and life. So let's say an example of a dead Goroutine, or I like to call it a zombie Goroutine. Let's define a function called worker which gets a channel of integer, and at first it gets that value, it gets a value from it, then it prints that variable. Here at first we make that channel, make a channel of integer, then we call this function in a new Goroutine and pass this channel to it. And let's wait for like 1 second in the main Goroutine and wait to see its result. Time that second. Let's see the output. Go run. So nothing happened. I mean, this Goroutine here didn't do anything, but it still is alive and eating our resources, our RAM, our CPU, and everything, which definitely is not good in a larger scale. Let's go to next short section of this video, the Golang memory. The Golang memory models each Goroutine as a set of operations at the memory. These operations are read-like or write-like. For example, when you send a variable to a channel, it's write-like, and when you receive a variable from it, it's read-like. Through these operations, the value of a variable of a place in memory changes constantly, right? So memory model is there to show us how much the data we are looking for is valid. It may sound a little bit vague, so let's see how it actually affects us. In the first video of Golang concurrent programming, one of the main things we discussed was why concurrent programming is not always the best answer. I mentioned some reasons, and at last we got to thread safety. We'll talk about it later. Now is that later. A variable is a part of a memory. It's a segment of it. Goroutines may have shared variables, and every time we have a shared variable, we have the problem of consistency. So what is it? We actually saw an example of it earlier on this video, when multiple users were reading and writing the same data from a database, and the last updated data may not be correct to all users. Okay, so let's say we have two Goroutines and each one of them want to perform two operations, a read one and a write one. And we have this memory which is shared between both of them. Since these two Goroutines are working concurrently, we can have different orders of their operations. And each of these orders show a different value of that variable of that shared state to each Goroutine. Since we have a shared state, we can have race condition, and if we don't handle it properly, we may have thread safety issue. In this case, instead of users, we have Goroutines, and instead of the data in the database, we have a variable in memory. When you look at it like that, they're not that different. On a Golang server, each user is a new Goroutine. We go on details later. If we do nothing, this problem is not handled automatically. We have to do some stuff to make it happen. So we need a synchronization tool to put all these requests to memory in the right order. Earlier we saw that channel is one of those tools, and other tools are Waitgroup for synchronization of operations and Atomic and Mutexes for data synchronization. We'll see all of them in the next videos. Since I want to make this video as short as possible, I don't dive into them right now, but let's see a short example of what I'm exactly talking about. So let's see what happens without this synchronization. Let me comment. Do I need to comment this? No, I don't need to. So I just add something here. What the hell is this? Let's define a variable which is called data, and its value is old value. Then we define two Goroutines. In the first one, we update its value, new value. And in the other one, we simply print it. And let's wait for 1 second in the main Goroutine to wait and see the result of it. Data, sorry, this should not be clonical, it should be equal. Okay, let's see the result. So the Goroutine, which is responsible to print out this data, doesn't see its new value. I mean, it is just seeing the old value of it. If you turn it multiple times, I think it still holds. Okay, now it shows us the new value. You know, it's random. We don't have any control on it. We can't be sure if this new Goroutine says this new data or not. I think that's it. Well, this video was short and too theoretical. In next videos, we see how to put all these concepts in action and actually use them. Before going, I wanted to talk about something. Well, my channel is an English-speaking channel with some other translations, so I have audience from all around the world, from India to United States, Europe. Love you all. So many of you are not in the position same as I am as an Iranian. There was a lot going on in my country for like a couple of weeks, and so many protests. The internet was shut down, so we don't have barely any information from the inside that what happened exactly, what was going on. The thing is that it's, well, really sad, and I can't live my normal life anymore, and that's why I didn't record videos in the past couple of weeks. You know, after all these end, even if we get to the best possible result, it doesn't matter to me anymore, because there will be not all of us to see that. There are so many wounds that won't get healed ever. I thank you very much for listening. Be curious and keep learning.